Hello, everybody. I hope you're having a good day. Mashiach JB here. In case, should I tell them this yet? In case a lot of my viewers haven't realized yet that watch me, sometimes I do extremely troll like things to upset others. And while this is not what the video is about, what I want to say to many people who are extremely serious because their situation is serious, I think also another part of elevating consciousness is understanding when stupid people are trolling you. So, there's an actual more serious point to this video, but for right now, I want to talk about trolling. So, you got all these trials going on and blah blah blah. And I did it. I made the mistake. I've been minding my business, listening to music, and then a couple videos about Trump making an ass of himself, Candace making an ass of herself, and then boom, I was back in there. And so I guess this Karmelo Anthony trial's going on with the Chud the Butler trial. And I'm gonna explain something to people that I've noticed. Uh, a lot of times when you guys see certain things happen, you have to understand while it may not totally be secular, it's secular in a sense. I'm going to give you an example. I will make the statement the United States is just as diverse in terms of countries as Africa. Why do I say that? What's the difference between a state and a country? I know you guys would be like, a country has its own federal government, blah, 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 blah. See, this is why, okay, you're going to do that, and you'll be like, oh, he's dumb, click off the video, cool. Bye-bye. The people who are still listening. What I'm saying is essentially, while we think we're different, we're not. I see a lot of people talking about African leaders and like, oh, they're so corrupt, they fuck up their country, blah, blah, blah. But the reason why I'm starting to like Trump is not for the reason why you might think. Don't do that. Oh, I hate when people do that to extend their videos. Fuck, I hate that shit. The reason why I like Trump is because he is exposing things that people would never normally expose. You guys, I don't know this judge in the Chud the Butler case, but I have one of two scenarios. I'm going to say the first scenario that I believe first. But then remember, my mind does that twofold. But what about this shit? So hear me out. I believe the judge in Chud the Butler's case has a black grandchild. I'm just being honest. Now hear me out. I'm not saying he does. That's a metaphor, even. The judge in Chud the Butler's trial face looks like my face when I'm arguing with racists. That dude looks furious. That dude looks like he watched Disney Channel and went to like some kind of church that taught love for like the first 10 years of his life and then started getting educated. That dude's looking at Chud like. Now, second scenario. Sorry, judge guy, if you're not the second scenario. I'm just giving you my experience. Second scenario, this judge hates Chud for a second reason. When you guys look at America and you see a lot of immigrants tethering, why do you think that is? When you see immigrants tethering in the rest of the world against the victims, what you're seeing is the system working perfectly. In the media, we make it look like pretty Coca-Cola polar bears. But then, oh my God, I'm just being honest. If I start talking about the other side, I'm gonna let a spirit out. So I want this to be lighthearted. So then you have the pretty, but deep down. So I think, honestly, from my heart, this judge really don't like racism. I think he don't like racism. Like, I would say a percentage of America doesn't. There are white people that would rip their skin off to sacrifice themselves to save all the black people in America. There are white people that would rip your skin off and turn it into leather. It's the balance. I'm sorry. So, the point is, I gave you guys a message yesterday talking about why Moses broke the Ten Commandments, and I learned another lesson. It's hard for me to talk to you guys seriously, and what I was trying to tell Adon years ago, or a year ago, or 2, 3 years ago, however long ago. It's hard for me to talk to people righteously when I start thinking about certain things. And when I start to think about racism and stuff, the little other side of the force comes to the front and starts getting real mad. And so I'm gonna try my hardest, man. A lot of times the biggest battle comes from within. Before I forget, the main point of the story, I was doing something, and after arguing racist for a couple hours, I started thinking like Moses. And I also had another thought. when I don't drink, I don't like playing with certain things. But when I drink, I prophecy against. So you guys will hear that and be like, oh, here he goes, magic magician, religious. See, I'm an atheist. Turn the video. Just hold on, man. Words have real meanings. And so when you guys have experienced Christianity most of your life, sometimes you're angry at certain words and you're like, I don't want to hear this shit. So when I say prophecy against, that's no different than saying, like, I'm speaking against. When you guys hear words like Mashiach and different words in Messiah, stop saying Mashiach. You started hearing these new Jewish people say it, and I told you how I feel about that shit. Certain words have been turned into bigger things. If you research the English language, God is nothing more than good. When I say nothing more than good, God came from another God, came Gudan, Guthis, Good. Satan came from Hasatan, what came from Sanatan, Dharma. Eventually, if you live long enough, you might see a God go from God to a devil. What I'm saying to you isn't, don't get in a race, dude. So, after arguing racists for like hours, and then they start sharing pictures of my white girlfriend in the comments and shit, and start talking about, and I had to explain to them, an interracial person would hate race. It's hard to, they're humans, man. So when you go to the zoo, you don't pull out a grenade launcher and shoot wolves because they might eat a kid, man. You just enjoy and talk. Maybe you might. So when thinking about Moses, this original thought, so I started to think to myself, okay, you have original man, you have second man, Alpha and Omega. How does this all turn together? And the point is, I thought it was sweet. I was like, ah ha ha ha. Moses is salty. Ha ha ha. And then, you know what I realized in that moment? Moses had his shit. John the Baptist had his shit, or Jesus, whoever the fuck. Who in my head talk. And I have to be both. I have to sit back and be like, oh, eternal mercy and love and mercy, peace, forgiveness. And then if I do that long enough, and I'll be like, ignore the racists, ignore the racists. You know what my brain says? Yeah, they ignore racists and sold and did slavery and said, just do the right thing and love your slave master. And what happened? Then slavery happened. And then a bunch of killing and oppression and hatred and evil. Remember, there's good cops, but they don't say nothing. Fuck! I'm sorry to anybody who is disabled, mentally disabled, or dealing with those things. You know, it's crazy. I obliterated Omni Eris. You know what happened to me? I asked him if he was mentally retarded, and I got fucked up. And y'all might not even understand what I'm saying. How, if you destroyed him, how'd you get fucked up? Some people just will never understand. So, I'm sorry. I mean that. And so the point of this video is, I'm both. We're at completion, man, and it's y'all job. Y'all have had judgments and punishment, and y'all have had ultimate peace and mercy. We talk about the Jews and what Jehovah did in the Old Testament, but you know what's crazy in psychology? If you look at what the Old Testament did, at least they followed some form of something. They broke it sometimes and got broke. But the New Testament, where y'all introduced love and peace and forgiveness, the only thing it did was gave murderers the serenity to forgive themselves for being murderers and then say the Lord God will it. Christians and Muslims are the most violentest faction of humanity that has ever been introduced to humanity. You guys say, I'll make a statement, Muslims or Christians. You guys are like, that don't make sense. What the fuck ever. Only difference is the name of the God and the name of the prophet that came. Both got a bunch of sweet and love and both fucking overrulingly murderous for those who don't do. Which is crazy because I've read both prophets and they seem like reasonable. They sound like me. Your enemies, you want to try to love them, but hey, you can only do what you do. Reading first John the Baptist, the real John the Baptist, not all that, the Lord Jesus, the magical words, said, who are you, demons and devil vipers? People create imaginations that mess them. So the point of this video is, I thought it was sweet on both. Of course it's written, don't prophecy. Love your slave master. Be happy for the situation you're in. Hug everybody, turn your cheek. Because if I do that continually, me and my kids will be slaves over and over and over. But if I go Moses' route, I might start World War fucking III. So what do? I'll tell y'all what I did, but y'all see, when I say fuck the spirit of God, y'all think I'm joking. Those two men were supposed to create completion. The only thing completion created was wrath and sorrow, because I am forgiveness, forgive. None of that mattered. But you know what they kept out of it? How to farm properly, right? How to irrigate, whatever the fuck it's called, right? How if a tornado tears your fucking land apart, what kind of trees to chop down, what type of chemicals to use on those trees so your house lasts 100 years, at least for you. No. We get magical creations and imaginations and blah 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 blah. But if you wanna, we love this book, but if you wanna educate it, spin the root of all evil. Love your slave master. Yo, I believe a couple of these people messaged my girls I was arguing online. And y'all might be confused how I keep everything public on Facebook for the most part. Public. Everything I post, all my video, all that shit. Why do I do that? I don't want people watching my videos and after watching my videos for 10 years, following to be like, oh, he smokes weed. Oh, he drinks something. No, nigga, I do that shit. I tell you I do it. You know what most of these people in the comments called me? For saying that Karmelo Anthony was innocent. They called me racist. I have watched CNN, Fox News. Remember Don Lemon, the same Don Lemon that's on podcasts? We're pro-black. You think Don Lemon's any different than Candace Owens? I used to remember him running his fucking mouth about the blacks on CNN. I told you I'm almost 40. I haven't seen everything, but I've seen enough. And my grandma and grandpa and parents used to say it all. My grandpa was in the Nation of Islam. He sold bean pies for Farrakhan. I used to have a problem with Farrakhan because what I was told. Now I wish he was younger. They kept saying, oh, you're on... So I will show mercy and I show peace. You guys will probably say, oh, you're a Jesusinian, John the Baptistinian, and you think it's okay for Karmelo Anthony to stab that boy? I am a product of my environment. You know how many times I was told, don't walk around with a water gun, son. Don't walk around with something that appears to be a gun. Don't play in these stores. Why was I told that? Because I could get fucked up at any time. I was raised brutally, on brutal merit and logic. But then other people do stuff and they go, what about, do you think it's okay to push somebody? After watching a black man in Florida, this Caucasian man walked up to the car, was hollering and snapping at his black girlfriend in the car, smacking her windows. The black man holding his 3-year-old son walked out the store. What are you doing at my car? He said, fuck you too and fuck you in. Push, get away from my car. The dude put out a gun and shot him. You know where the dude is right now? I think at first they pronounced him innocent. I think he's chilling at his crib. Now Karmelo Anthony does that. Remember Trayvon Martin wasn't wasn't robbing nothing, stealing nothing, taking nothing. He was followed. Now this man Zimmerman is signing Skittles. Remember George Floyd was choked to death? Now they showing hanging memes and stuff. But y'all want me to think in my logical mind after what I've witnessed that Karmelo Anthony is guilty? The boy harassed him, taunted him, followed him, pushed him, and then got stabbed for it. And I'm too in my logical mind. So by that logic, well, okay, so I'm trying to bring them to higher level logic for the Matrix fucks them up royally. They are being set up for failure. And they say, I hate whites. They fuck. Imagine a world where you guys do a bunch of crazy shit in the dark, where nobody can see. So we watch the TV shows and commercials, and it's pretty. We love them. You guys should marry, right? Nobody knows propaganda. But then social media is created, and we type, right, example, video, every fucking where. Everywhere. Now imagine this. In the midst of all this happening, a man attempted to push him and he stabbed him. And they said that was wrong. He shouldn't have stabbed that man. The Asian store owner chased after the man that he thought was stealing from him and shot him, and he was innocent. Now remember, African Americans were stolen from their land, chased and killed and murdered and enslaved. What if African Americans, based on their historical logic, started to think a fraction, actually, like these Republicans and these right-wingers and these people who are psychotic and racist actually think? Over and over, I hear people, the biggest problem, they say African Americans are going to come back and do to them what they did to us. And every time I see an African American, yes, brother, I love you. I'm the one here. Yeah, thanks, guy. What is this? People are digging their own graves. I told one of the commenters, I am but a mirror. He called me a racist and bigot and shared a picture of my girl Shannon and said I was crazy. But then he had a picture of a little white daughter, a little girl. And I said, what if a bigger black man, or what bigger, Austin's bigger than Karmelo, what if a bigger black man pushed your little daughter after you trigger trained her all her life? And you gave her something in her purse to protect herself. And pushing isn't vile, right? If you're going to use the argument that pushing isn't lethal and it's not vile, now a grown black man pushes her, says, get out of here, I'm going to take your milk and cookies. And she pulls out that little pistol and shoots that man that's bigger than her. What you going to do? So what you're going to do is, that's what I call it unawareness. You're going to, when that happens to your daughter, you're going to be like, she was justified to shoot that nigga. Look, crime, blackie crimes. But if I also do that and say, look what y'all did to us to usurp upon us, he's telling this man he can't be in a free area that the coach testified he doesn't have the justice to tell him that. So then he's pushing and then bullied when he stabs back, he's the aggressor, right? But think about your life and your situations and your family. Think about the people that's surrounded by you. I just had to witness a 14-year-old who was accused of stealing but wasn't. Had a gun in his bag, right? You know how many times my mom had a gun next to me when I went to an ATM? Did the store owner come out and blast my fucking brains out because I tried to pull money out? So this was a younger kid, right? Whatever. The gun was in the bag. They was all lying. Just like I get on social media and I'll be damn near ready. I'll be like, oh, what the fuck? This, that. Then I read the actual facts of the trial. And people just, they hate. Somebody created hate the blacks right now. In history, there's a lot of things that's been taught. But right now, I'm telling y'all, I tried to ignore the shit, but for the next month or however long, because of this Anthony trial and this trial and that trial, it's going to be some vile shit on social media. I can give you the advice, ignore it, blah, 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 but it's going to reach you. And when it does, all I ask is that you try to help you. What does that mean? You might run into any faction. Preserve your peace. Because once I started drinking and read the comments that I was leaving and they was leaving, I was like, what the fuck? And then I started just writing poetry to them. And I think I was prophesying against them. I was saying wise things and then telling them I'm but a mirror and then saying certain things. which means the intent in my heart is to hurt certain people right now. And so I'm aware of that, right? Boom. So now I'm finna get off social media and I'm finna mind my business because, or at least Facebook. But even I say that, and as soon as I get a notification, I'm gonna be ready to jump back in the front lines. I'm just being honest, dude. Why am I like this? Why is this happening? Because I made this statement a long time ago. Just because you yell, just because you don't yell when you arguing with somebody and scream and fight and all domestic-y, that don't mean you're not as vile as the people that do because of the shit you're actually saying. Y'all are causing an ungodly distress to people who y'all know y'all are tormenting and been fucking with for a long time. Y'all know y'all are. And then you're unaware, so you're becoming so vile that you believe you're justified and you're not. The Romans was fucking huge. Much bigger than America is right now. I'm telling y'all, it wasn't nothing nice for them afterwards. Even through their religion, the Catholics, look what happened daily. I am but a mirror, and people are trying to curse themselves. The reason why I say I'm but a mirror anymore, we've had the vengeance, and we've had the forgiveness. At this point, fuck all this bullshit. Send it back to you. I'm rubber, you're glue. It's too fucking much, and people want to fight and argue all the fucking time. But then they fight and argue and wrath, they troll and say vile shit, and it hurts the public. And so, my name is Bennett. I ain't in it. I don't know who finna win it. But one warning I can give to an actual faction that loves science and intellect. It's not gonna happen now while we use all this sunscreen. But I think you know what I'm talking about. Go study the yellow dwarf for a while. That becomes a red giant one day. And tell me how intelligent I am. Piss off the only thing outside of chemicals that could change that instantly.